everyone, I just want to let you know before the video starts that this was a very, very long conversation. The full thing is an hour and 25 minutes, and I thought it'd be a lot easier just to split it down into sections. So, part one will be uploaded today, and then the rest of the parts will follow on in the next few weeks. It was a really, really great conversation. Both of us had a really fun time just talking about our favourite bassist. As we mentioned in the video, we both play bass, so it was kind of a personal thing for us. But I hope you guys enjoy and tune in until the end because we had a lot of fun filming it, and we hope you enjoy it. So, enjoy. Hello everyone and welcome back to a new episode of Saturdays with Dad. Today we've got an interesting video that I think we've tried to record a few times, but it's either been wiped off my phone or the takes have not been very good. And that is our favourite bassists. So prepare yourself because this is going to be a very long video. I just thought I'd just record it all in one as a Zoom call because I know that was popular with people in the comments section of the last Saturdays with Dad. I think a lot of people enjoyed this Zoom format because it feels a bit more conversational. And I think we both like it. I mean, I like it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And yeah, so we're going to be talking about bassists. Bass player is an important part of the band. If you don't have a good bass player, you haven't got a very good band. It's the same with drummers as well. If your drummer and bass player cannot synchronize, then you've not got a good band. So as I said, there are going to be a lot of bassists here, so hang tight. We have also curated a playlist on Spotify of all of the tracks that we're going to be talking about today. All that is in the description if you want to check out those playlists. Another thing that's in the description is my merch. If you haven't got yourself a Progner t-shirt, go get yourself one. All in the description as well as my social medias and whatnot. So yeah, I'm also a bass player, and you were a bass player as well.
Correct.
So this is going to be quite a personal video.
Oh yes, without any doubt. And I think the thing, when you look at the makeup of a group, I think most people look at the bassist as somebody who is the link between the percussion element and the beat element of some music, together with the actual sort of not orchestration, but the sort of lead parts of it, like the keyboards or the guitar. Unless you're, of course, certain bassists that we will be bringing up, who are actually another lead guitarist, really.
There's a few of those in this list.
Yeah, who is just as lead guitarist as a Hendrix. Garcia or a Clapton or whoever, you know what I mean? So, and those are the ones that separate the good bassists to the most triumphant bassists.
Very cool. So I think we can just begin now because, as I said, it's going to be a long one, so we should just get right into the list. So up first, we have my personal favorite. I was going to swap it to last, but I think the way we've written out the list, it's just easier to go down, is Geddy Lee, who is my favourite bassist of all time. Actually got my Rush poster here as well. He inspired me to make bass lines that were a bit more prominent in the sound that Silly Lobster, which is my band, what I want to make, and use it as like another lead. I found it easier to play the bass as a lead instrument, actually, because I'm not really that good at guitar. I did try though. But going back to Geddy Lee, he's a great bassist, and I think the best example for me personally for Geddy Lee is La Villa Strangiato. Bear with me, that's probably not the correct pronunciation, but it's a great track, and it's just an all instrumental with the three of them just showing off how good they are, really, in a humble way, I guess. But that is a great track and a great example. I could have picked the entire Rush discography to use as an example, but that one is my favorite of the examples that I picked.
Okay. Yeah, there's very little for me to add there. We know how good they're, one of the best North American bands, Rush. And I would say that what I said earlier is no more exemplified than in Rush, because Geddy Lee was also vying for lead guitar with Alex Lifeson. I mean, he did everything on the bass. I mean, just a tremendous band, tremendous sound, Some of his bass licks were just unbelievable, and you'd have to be completely idiotic if you were constructing a list of even the top 20 bassists of all time not to have Geddy Lee on it.
He has to be there.
Yeah.
All right. Up next is Jack Bruce of Cream.
Arguably the first supergroup of all time. Jack Bruce, unfortunately for him, lived under the shadow of Ginger Baker, who was the wild man. I can't believe in the 60s there were so many wild drummers, and also the genius of Eric Clapton. But they would be the first to admit, even though that Baker and Jack Bruce couldn't stand the sight of each other, they would be the first person to say it wouldn't have been able to be Cream or as good as they were without Jack Bruce. And Jack Bruce was a great bassist in the true bassist tradition. I mean, he wouldn't be someone like Les Claypool or Flea. He'd be slapping the bass about, but he'd be there and he'd be in rhythm and everything like that. And some of the great songs, In the White Room and things like that. I mean, Jack Bruce was an incredible bass guitarist, probably one of the best Scottish musicians ever of all time.
Yeah, and the song we picked for this one was Sunshine of Your Love, which we did a cover of as Silly Lobster a few times a while back. I'm not sure if that's uploaded anywhere, but it's on the Instagram. If you want to check out the Silly Lobster Instagram, we did a good cover of that. All right, next up is Chris Squire. Another person who inspired me a lot as well. Similar to Geddy Lee. Actually, Chris Squire inspired Geddy Lee to make the bass guitar a lead instrument because he did that beforehand. It's easy to just say, Roundabout is the best bass line that he ever came up with, but throughout the whole Yes discography of the 70s, there are so many that you can pick out. I mean, I picked out Yours Is No Disgrace because that's just a great song, and it's also a great example. Great bassist and very much inspirational to me.
Fantastic bassist, no doubt about it, Chris Squire. I can't add that much further than what you have done, Neve. And just a very, very good bassist, and will be missed, but he's left a huge legacy.
I agree with that. It also makes me feel a bit better because I use a pick to play. He also used a pick to play, and I know a lot of people make fun of bassists who use a pick, and I always just say, well, what about Chris Squire? You're gonna make fun of him for that? One of the greatest bassists ever.
Yeah.
Always makes me feel a bit better. Excuse me. Next up, you might not know who this is. It's Paul McCartney. I don't think we need to say much on this one because
no, we don't. By far and away the best musician of the whole of the Beatles. His bass guitar playing was so totally exemplary, very intricate, really clever bass guitarist. And to me, all the best stuff that came out musically, not lyric-wise, but musically, was from Paul McCartney, and then later on him and George Harrison.
Yeah, I think we picked from Abbey Road, I Want You, She's So Heavy as our example.
So brilliant, that track.
And the bass line is very good. I've been learning it, actually.
It's very good, very good.
It's very good, yeah. So, next up, Dad, do you want to guess who's up next?
I don't know. Who would it be?
It's Phil Lesh.
Simply the best. To me, he is up there with Jerry. He was a lead guitarist as well as Jerry, and he was playing lead guitar bass in the 60s on Anthem of the Sun. You know, that was for the other one. You just felt his presence on the bass. A Dark Star. I mean, just a legendary bass intro. Do 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 do. And then they all come in, and that's just Phil Lesh. I mean, Phil Lesh played everything bass wise. He was influenced so many people, not least me, but I could never aspire to be even a billionth of what he was, and what he is. And I just think, for me, my favourite bass guitarist, maybe technically not the best bassist ever known, but he would just be so high, being my top three, without any doubt, Phil Lesh.
What was the track that we picked for the example?
Well, we chose a track from Europe 72, and I think it's the first track of the first side, and it's the opening song on Workingman's Dead, which is Cumberland Blues. And you just listen to the bass. I mean, it's all very high up the key, the fretboard to start off with as it comes in, and then as it goes into the song, and you just go straight into the bass, you just realize zoom coming in, and you know, it's no surprise that Cumberland Blues is a Phil Lesh song.
Very nice.
What do you think?
What do I think? I think he's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next up is one that I'm not as familiar with, so you can talk about this one then, Dad, which is Alan Woody.
Oh, Alan Woody. Alan Woody was in the Allman Brothers with Warren Haynes. They then left and formed their own group, Government Mule. In this country, people regrettably don't know who Government Mule are. Not everyone. There's a few cognoscenti about that know how good they are. How good that Warren Haynes is also one of the best guitarists in the world. And Alan Woody was a great blues bassist, but he was like a traditional rock bassist, like in the form of Jack Bruce and, you know, people like him. But he was great on the blues. His finger picking was just unbelievable. I think the album Dose, which for me is probably pound for pound the best Mule album, he's just amazing on that. And he died tragically short, you know, like a very, very young life cut short. And I think it's a testament of not just how good Alan Woody was as a bassist, but how respected he was. That the first album that Government Mule and Warren Haynes got together was a thing called The Deep End, which came in two parts. And if you really want to know the art of bass guitars, you should get in at the Deep End, part 1 and part 2, because with a few exceptions, you know, the bassist Warren Haynes got some of the greatest guys that have ever played bass guitar to be on that album. You've got, just on this album alone, you've got Squire, you've got Phil Lesh, you've got Mike Gordon, you've got John Entwistle, you've got Jack Bruce on it, you've got Jack Apostolius on it, Willie Weeks is on it, Bootsy Collins is on it. You know, I could be here for the whole day talking about how brilliant this album is, and and you just have to, it literally is a who's who of great, you know, called Jack Cassidy's on it, of how of great musicians.
I assume Flea's on it as well. He does a lot.
Flea is on it, yeah.
A lot of collaboration.
Flea actually and Les Claypool both composed songs on it, I think, as well. So that alone would suggest to me the best reason why that Alan Woody is on this list.
Very nice, very nice. Next up is a band, the bassist from a band that we are actually going to be seeing. Well, I'm going to be seeing at least in September, and that is Les Claypool.
Whoa, I mean, I'll be, yeah.
Now, I had first listened to Primus a few years ago. I remember sitting on the train and I listened to Caesar Cheese, and it was good. I enjoyed it, but I didn't quite get it because it was way before I got into prog. So I was kind of into just getting into Dream Theater at this point. Still thought Dream Theater were kind of bizarre when I first listened to them. It was that kind of period of time. So I listened to Caesar Cheese. I was sitting on the train and I thought, this is just absolutely insane. I don't understand it. And then I realized Primus's music isn't really meant to be understood. It's just bizarre, and that's what it's there for. And the lyrics are bizarre, but not just that. The bass playing is incredible. It's really one of a kind. You hear that tone and you know it's Les Claypool. You know that's a Les Claypool bass line. You know that's a Les Claypool sound. And you can hear it throughout all of the projects that he's done, whether that be Primus or Oysterhead or anything else that he's been on. You just know it's him. And for me, my favorite bass line that we picked on our list, excuse me, which I didn't put in apparently. Oh, there we go. To Defy the Laws of Tradition, which is the first track from Frizzle Fry.
Frizzle Fry, what an album.
A great album. That whole album is just littered with great bass lines, as is a lot of their career. I mean, I don't think that I've ever listened to a bad Primus album so far, at least. It's always different, and it's always great, and it's always crazy, and I have the absolute pleasure.
Not least humorous.
Yeah.
It's that he is, to me, Frank Zappa of the bassists, because he's an incredible bassist, incredible musician, and some of his lyrics are so out there. They're just so brilliant. I mean, Mr. Crinkle is just. I was down with Neve at Brighton, and my wife kept on getting annoyed with me for singing "Say Hello, Mr. Crinkle." But it's just brilliant. It's just so brilliant, you know.
It's an acquired taste. I think if you don't get it, it's hard. It's hard to grasp, because it's just. I think to like a band like Primus, you have to go back and like the Frank Zappas of this world, the Grateful Dead, the jam bands, the everything like that, to kind of get to that point of jam band, but also funk rock weirdness and experimentation. And
also incredibly brilliant lyrics.
Yeah, and I'm so excited that they're finally doing a European tour, because I'm going to be seeing them I think it's towards the end of September in London. So I'm so excited for that. Maybe someone heard us. Someone from their team must have heard us on the video once.
We just scratched off our list, isn't it?
Yeah, so that will probably come.
He could have done a double whammy, couldn't he? He could have said, "Listen, what I'm going to do is we're coming over. I think Stuart Copeland has a house in London. Just go over to Vermont, mug Trey Anastasio, bring him over, and then get Oysterhead to play a series of gigs in London."
That'd be good fun. Yeah, I'd love that a lot.
Incredible.
All right, talking about prominent bass lines and someone we've already talked about, Flea. And talking of Flea, actually, the new Red Hot Chili Peppers album was released yesterday, and of course I listened to it, and that is again littered with amazing bass lines. It is a fantastic album. If you haven't heard it yet, do give it a shot, because it is very good. It's their first album with John Frusciante back in the band. If you didn't know that, he came back I think a few years ago now, and they finally released a new album. But other than that, another person who does a lot of these kind of side projects and stuff like that, but you always know that it's Flea playing. He's a fantastic bass player, and he uses the slap technique, just like Les Claypool as well. And it's something that I'm trying to master myself. It's very difficult, and he does it so perfectly. and so effortlessly. You watch a Red Hot Chili Peppers live show and you think, oh, I can do that. Then you realize you can't because the bass lines are so intricate, and I think the whole band works so well together with Flea, with John Frusciante and Chad Smith as well on the drums, that whenever they jam, it's unforgettable. It's absolutely amazing. And the song that I pick is the title track of By the Way, which is my favorite record of theirs. Great album, great bass lines all the way throughout. And yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers have become one of my favorite groups as of the last few years because I got into them in the lockdown. But yeah, Flea, great bassist.
Just a little further addendum to what you said, Neve. One of the bands he played for as well was the Mars Volta, the inception of the Mars Volta. And if you listen to the bass on Deloused in the Comatorium, that is Flea as well. So yet another great band that he's played for. And the Mars Volta are a great band. And I think he did some of the bass work in one of my favourite albums of all time, Francis the Mute. Certainly, the Mars Volta, there seems to be an affiliation there was an affiliation with Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Mars Volta. Obviously, as an act globally, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were much bigger. But the experimental stuff that they did with the Mars Volta is just unbelievably good.
Yeah, I think similar with a lot of the people on this list, anything that is touched by this person is amazing musically. Yeah. All right, next up, Justin Chancellor of Tool.
Yep.
And again, fortunate enough to see Tool actually next month.
Yay!
Very excited for that. Very, very excited for that. So Tool are pretty much my favorite band at this point, alongside Iron Maiden. Both of them conveniently have very good bassists, but I will talk about Iron Maiden a little bit later on in the video. I chose the song Reflection. Now, I could have picked Schism, I could have picked 46 and 2, I could have picked absolutely anything, because every bass line on a Tool record is good. You know, it's amazing. And the tone, it's so rich, it's so deep, and you know that you're in for a very good track or a very good record when you hear a bass intro like something from Reflection. And it's just that kind of dark and kind of mysterious aspect. It adds that to the music. And if they didn't have that attached to their music, I think it wouldn't be not as good, but I just don't think it would be as full and as, consuming, I guess. I don't know another word to pick for that, but their recent album, Fear Inoculum, which came out, I think, around 3 years ago now, 2019, that is just full of great bass lines, and everything backwards. 10,000 Days, you've got the Wings for Marie duo, which have some very good bass lines. You've got anything from Lateralis, pretty much, and so on, backwards and backwards. It's all just very, very good. And definitely one of my favorite bassists of all time. Very excited to see him play live in a month's time. And yeah, that's me on Justin Chancellor.
Well, I can't really add that too much more to that. Again, really looking forward to seeing them. And he's another incredibly good bassist. He's a great bassist. His work is definitely up there amongst a plethora of great bass guitarists.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right, next one, another modern day prog group. I know a lot of people get annoyed at me when I call Tool a prog band, but they are to an extent. But never mind. The next bassist we're going to be talking about is John Myung, or Myung, I'm sorry about pronunciation, of Dream Theater. We saw Dream Theater a couple of years ago now, in 2020, before the lockdown. And as a bassist myself, I was very fixated on watching him play because, he's a 6-string bass player, and, it would just be, I was just focusing, and he just didn't miss a note. and he was very captivating in the way that he plays. You're just hanging on to every note. And the song that I picked for my example is Metropolis Part 1 from Images and Words, which is their second album, I believe. Just a fantastic bass line. I mean, Dance for Eternity's got that really, really cool bass break in it. But literally, I think a lot of people's problems with Dream Theater is that the musicians seem robotic and all of that stuff, which I don't really care. They're good. They're good musicians. They're fantastic musicians. And that song in particular has got very, very great musicianship, especially bass playing on it.
Excellent.
And we're going to be seeing them again, actually.
Yeah, a few months' time, aren't we?
Yeah, it's next month.
It's next month.
Oh, no, it's this month. It's this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing them on the 23rd, your birthday.
Yeah.
Which is also a record store day.
Yes.
I've forgotten about that.
Yes.
Anything to add on that?
No, not really. I think you made a very, very good point. And all I can do is sit there and agree with what you say. And you know, I'm like you, looking forward to seeing them next few weeks.
I think that latest album is really, really good. A View from the Top of the World, I believe that's the name.
Yeah, I like that.
I think it's the best they've done with Mangini so far on drums, because it's kind of hard to replace someone like Mike Portnoy, who has so much feel in the way that he plays, and you can't really get it much better. But I think this record really just feels a bit more relaxed and a bit more organized. And I love every track on the album, and I'm excited to hear them play the tracks live. So yay. Thank you guys for watching. And this was a long one. It was a 26-minute video. I know a lot of people enjoy our longer videos as well, because it feels more conversational and more natural to do it on the Zoom call as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we've curated a playlist for every song that we've mentioned, not just in this video, but across all of the bases that we talk about in the full video. So if you want to check out that playlist, it will be in the description. So if you want to discover new music, or if you want to rediscover something you haven't listened to in a while, definitely go check it out. We spent a long time putting it together, and yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you next week. Bye bye.